And I've seen it so often that people see these, and you notice there's a rubber hole on one side, and the other side is metal.
Oh, yes.
But you can fit it both ways.
Oh.
And so if you block off the oil hole, now you got no oil flow, no lubrication to the motor. I've seen them seize up solid.
Oh, really?
How long? Nothing.
How long does it take after that mistake?
Oh, probably about 15 minits.
Oh, so you get 15 minutes.
Oh,
so,
yeah, you get it just a few minutes before you start hearing noises. With your conventional ratchet, you'll put your correct size socket and take it off, put it on, whatever. But when it comes to dealing with aluminum, such as in the engine block on any ATV, they're all aluminum blocks. You need a delicate touch, and the service manual will tell you, and the service manual is the companies, whether it be Kawasaki, Honda, Can-Am, whatever you have, they will tell you what their recommended torque values are. And you couldn't possibly, unless you have a lot of hand experience turning wrenches, you wouldn't know what that is, but they make a torque wrench. And a torque wrench's job is to basically kick out when you get to the correct amount of tightness on a bolt. And you see they have numbers that are in, these are foot-pounds, or inch-pounds on this one. It's a smaller torque wrench. Mm-hmm. This is the bigger brother of the same thing. This will be in foot-pounds. Foot-pounds. So obviously a foot is 12 inches. So if you needed to convert an inch-pounds one into foot-pounds, you go times 12. But anyway, all you do is adjust it to whatever number you need. And I from experience, these little oil filter bolts, they are 90 inch-pounds. So you just adjust it up to 90 inch-pounds. And after you've tightened it a certain amount, the whole unit will click and pivot on this head and make a clicking sound. You'll feel right through your hand. And you'll have to have grabbed it by the gray handle, or its accuracy will not function correctly.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
If you grab it from here, it won't work, believe it or not.
Really? Oh. It's
a bizarre situation. It reads torque along the whole bar.
That's interesting. Oh.
So, say I'm going to put an adapter on, because these are 8 millimeter heads. And it's an 8 millimeter socket. I'll adapt it down to 8 millimeter. And then we go over to the bike. And we find an 8 millimeter bolt. And all we do is listen for this. That clicking, mm-hmm. That's to say you're tight enough.
Oh, really? Okay.
It won't click like that until you're reached the correct tightness that you've set the thing to.
Oh, that's excellent.
And the service manual calls for 90 inch-pounds for these 8 and 10 millimeter head bolts on this whole machine. They all rated at 90 to 92 inch-pounds.
All right.
Just from memory of me reading all the service manuals 100 times. I don't even carry the service manuals all. I just keep them in my head now.
The service manual is inside of your head. Great.
Yes,
all
just
right.
by repetitious, and I'm sure I've worked on way more than hundreds of these things. Like, including, I used to briefly work at a dealership that worked at Kawasaki. They would still bring Hondas to me. So, yeah, a torque wrench is very smart. It saves a lot of, if you over tighten and strip the threads out of the bolt, now you got a very large job.
Oh, I've stripped lots of bolts before because I have, because I didn't know about this.
You didn't know about that, but yeah, for wheel nuts of a car, you use the big one, and you set it to most small cars are 120 foot-pounds of torque.
Okay.
For a wheel nut.
Okay.
You change your tires.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where a foot-pound one comes in, is larger nuts of that size. So yeah, you need actually both torque wrenches.
All right.
And if you're going to have them, you might as well have them both.
Okay, so these are torque wrenches.
Yes.
All right. And I'm saying that because I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, these are torque wrenches because that's how tightness is measured in torque.
Okay.
And then from previous knowledge, here's your oil filter cover. And it's got 3 8 millimeter bolts. And there is no secret to getting them out. You can use hand tools, but I'm getting older and more efficient. So I take them all out. Nothing's going to hit you. Don't worry. And there'll be a little spring underneath here, and a little blop of oil will come out, but don't panic. That's why the oil pan's underneath. Okay? A little bit of magic juice underneath there. Remember I said pay attention
Yes.
to which way it faces.
Yes.
So you see that it faces out, because a lot of people think, and also there's a spring behind there, we'll get to that later, that it goes this way. Because why would you have the hole facing out? Well,
yes.
because the hole is in the cover. You can see this portal runs oil to this hole. And it goes from the filter. It puts pressure on the outside of the filter and filters it before it goes in. It's squeezed through this hole, comes out this hole, goes through this rubber seal, up this little tin line, all the way to the top of the motor, and rains oil down on the camshaft and all the moving parts inside the motor.
Oh, I see.
And it recycles over and over endlessly as you're driving.
All right.
And that's what keeps everything alive.
Fantastic. All right.
The only thing they got to later, this little spring is a headache to try and keep it here. It always falls out every time. So I just end up laying the bike on its side when I'm ready to put it back together.
Oh, that's a little...
Because in '86, they designed these little arms that hold it a lot deeper. So they would hold it there by itself. But this is the very first attempt. They really didn't fully understand it could be better. But good old Honda, they don't take long to figure out there's always a better way.
Great.
So we'll just take this and put it away somewhere safe, clean. I always wipe out all the black soot. So that's the whole point of what you're taking out, is that it filters and stays behind, and it doesn't go through your motor. If there's any debris, carbon buildup, or anything, any engine metal that may have broken down, this is your warning system. It basically tells you that there's something breaking down inside the motor that you need to address. And if you don't pay attention every time you change your oil to what's in there, then that's your own fault that you're having a big issue that it was easily preventable by paying attention. But a lot of this stuff, I guess they don't teach you in school.
No, they do not.
Not so much anymore. Take the drain plug out. There we go. Once we got her broke. And that the torque for the drain plug is 11 foot-pounds. Here's something they don't even tell you in the book, is that a lot of people will drain the oil with the engine hot, which is a pretty good way to go if you're in a rush. But if you're not in a rush, you can let it drip dry on its own when it's colder. And then when it's done, if you were to tighten it cold, you get the accurate measurement. But aluminum is a very soft metal. So if you have the engine hot, when you're trying to tighten the drain bolt, it's pretty much just dripping. And I do it for my own sake, but you don't really need to go this far. The oil pump has some oil trapped in it, and it isn't very much. But I'll often turn over the motor with no oil in it just to pump out the oil pump. So we'll do that for giggles, but we don't really need to. And then you'll see that more oil will come out the bottom after I do it. You can get down here.
Is it going to spray me all over?
No, it won't. There'll be a little tube here. I'll get you to back up just this much.
Okay.
And you're safe there. It's just going to shoot here and then run down. Okay. And you'll see more coming out of the drain plug than what was before.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Gets rid of a lot of dark oil that we don't want going through the motor.
Excellent.
That much cleaner when you do your oil change.
Excellent.
You can see there's a lot more coming out of the bottom too.
Absolutely. So that would have, if they did not do that, all of that was mixed with the new oil.
Yeah, it just shortens the life a little bit. I know it's overkill, but
I don't think so, because
if you're going to do something, just try and do it as good as you can possibly do it.
Absolutely, and that is quite a lot of fluid that is still coming out of there. So I think that that's actually a step that needs to be done or added.
Yeah, it would be nice if they did, but they just assume for the average person that's not so knowledgeable. So They just make a very generalized oil change when you read the book.
We are in the country. Country people are knowledgeable about these types of things, so they're going to want to know.
Sometimes our life depends on it.
You got it.
If the weather's bad enough, it's how else are you going to get to town? Maybe your car doesn't start, or maybe the snow's too deep. You got to take a snowmobile or ATV to get yourself to some help.
Right. So this is another very important step. All right. I'm learning a lot today.
There we go. And now we've dripped dry. There's barely a drop even coming out of there, so I'm going to go with more than good. So I'll put our drain plug back in. Always start a bolt with your fingers. Never, ever start a tool with an electric tool or an impact, air or battery powered or what have you. Always start the threads by fingers. You can feel that you didn't cross thread it. If you cross thread it and the threads are wrong and we have one metal softer than the other, or even if they're the same hardness, you damage them. Now you're pushing filings in, and now you have to correct your problem. And it costs money to correct problems of either ignorance or laziness. So I get it close like that. Then I get my torque wrench. Set to 11 foot-pounds. And we have a cold motor, not a hot motor, so we know we're not going to strip anything. And Bob's your uncle. Listen for the click. There we go. That's as tight as it needs to be. I'll get all my stuff ready. Stand the bike on its side. And then you put your spring in. It doesn't go anywhere. Ta-da!
Great.
And then hole facing outside. And if you look on a lot of these filters, a lot of the better filters, I don't think this one has it, but I know the Honda one for sure does. It will actually say on the hole with the rubber, it'll be stamped in the metal outside.
Oh, that's good.
But people don't read it because it looks this, you see how hard it is to read this? It
Yes.
says HF 112. Can you see those numbers?
Yes, just very, very lightly.
Exactly. Well, that's how they write outside. No. Nope. You just put it in. It self-centers with putting the cap in. You put your cap back on. And whenever you put your cap on, you just feel it until it falls in. And then you do a twisting motion so your O-ring gasket slips in. Because I've seen too many people push it on and they'll actually cut a corner off. They'll cut a corner right off the rubber. You just go till you feel it slip together. Just like that, it just slid right together. And you put one bolt. Always start them by fingers unless they're down a deep hallway. Start them by fingers. Tighten one up gently, no torque wrench. Start it by fingers. Now, even 2 bolts is enough. I can lower the bike down now. And like I said, it was 11 foot-pounds, but there's an inch-pound torque wrench. So you'll back it off to 90 inch-pounds. I don't know if you can see that. I will try and get something there. You see how it has a 90?
Yes, I believe I can see it. I think the camera can see that. All right.
Okay, and it has a squiggly line. And then on the blue part, it has numbers, so you can get down to 0, which would make that exactly 90, then 91, 92, 93, 94. So we'll just finish torquing our cover so we can put oil in the bike. Put our last one in with no force at all, just to say we get it to the bottom. Switching to our torque wrench to torque them correctly. Here, I'm going to get you to do one of these. I'll do one and you'll see how it goes. You hear that?
Yeah.
Now you go right ahead.
So,
Just pick this one right here.
all right, it just goes on top of it like
Yep,
that.
and grab it right by the handle, like what I said. Otherwise, it won't be accurate.
Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna have to
Just slide your hand up. I got the tool.
Okay.
No, up here.
Oh,
I want
up
it
here.
Right there. Okay,
Oh.
now just turn it until you feel a click. nice and slow. It's pretty easy to figure out.
Do I not have it on correctly? I don't.
You got it right.
Oh, there.
Just like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the whole, you can feel it click throughout the whole thing and into the
Exactly.
handle.
Yep.
Oh, that's nice. I like that a lot.
You won't make a mistake.
Yeah, okay, I
And
like
now
that.
that will never come loose on the trail. You're as safe as in your mother's arms.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
There we go. And now we just fill our oil back into the top and continue on. Maintenance is performed.
Great. Fantastic. All right.
Wrapping up our oil change, you always need a funnel to fit the shape of your situation. So in this situation, the oil dipstick checker to check your oil is right here. And you want it between these two marks, but ideally this is your full mark and this bottom mark is to say add. Can you see the marks?
I think you're going to have to. Yes, I can.
Here, let me have a look. There we go. You can see the two marks.
Oh,
Nice.
I see.
That's full and that's add.
Okay, perfect.
And then you always thread it all the way to the bottom to get a correct reading. Otherwise, the amount of threads you have is a problem with your measurement. Because if you see it, it actually threads out quite a ways out. And actually, there's a cheat move I use, is that the amount of threads from here to here is the same threads from here to here. So if I get oil up to the add line just by doing this, then it's full when you thread it in. So we'll just add what I know it takes just a little bit over 2 liters. So you need an oil, preferably with, oil ratings are funny. 0W40 with oil ratings, the first number is your viscosity weight at room temperature. So this is like a 0, it behaves like water at plus 15 Celsius. And your second number is your protective value. It's because oils were measured in a 10 weight or a 30 weight. This other number didn't exist at the beginning of oil. It was just one number.
Okay.
So this is the important number for protection. And this is the one to say it's really cold outside, which I don't know what is in Fahrenheit is minus 20. I think it's minus 40 that they both meet. Is that correct? At minus 40, if you pour this oil and it's a 20 weight, it looks like honey. It pours slow like a slug.
Okay.
It just barely comes out. And a 0 weight in minus 40 will run pretty significantly, almost like a regular oil in summertime.
Okay.
So that's the differences in your first number,
is
how they react to the cold. And it's also synthetic makes it even better yet for running in the cold.
Okay, we'll have to make a video about that and link it in the description. We will link that in the description.
Okay, and then your protective value, you need at least a 30 for a Honda 3-wheeler such as this, and generally most ATVs in the summer or winter. But the closer you are to summer hot weathers, you want a 40 or even a 50 to be your last number.
Okay.
And because this is similar to a motorcycle with the clutches,
okay,
you need a JASO approved oil. This isn't written here so much. No, they didn't write it on theirs. But when it says wet clutch certified,
okay,
that's what you have is wet clutches in here.
all right.
So without that, of some semblance of having wet clutch certified oil, your clutches are going to start to turn hard with heat, and they will start to slip. And when they start to slip, they get very hot and they burn up. And now you have to replace your clutches.
Oh, okay.
So it's easily avoidable by using your correct oil. More than 2 liters, you just pour the whole thing in and wait for number 2. Without the funnel, you make a heck of a mess.
I can imagine. Great.
There's no higher reach than to educate yourself about something you're interested in.
I'm also doing this just in case you guys ever leave me in the outbrush and I have to find my way home or repair my machine. And
then you won't feel defenseless. No, that's a great way to go. That's a fantastic thing.
Please, you guys, don't leave me out in the brush.
Never. We generally, as a rule of thumb, this is to add to riding in general. Your most experienced rider is at the back as like corralling all the sheep.
Oh, that's a good thing to know.
And you have your funnest rider in the front to make it fun and interesting places to go.
That's really good. I like that.
So that everybody in between can relax, enjoy the day, enjoy the sunny weather, have a fun ride with no stress about getting lost. They just got to follow the guy that knows the trails, and the guy at the back can take care of any problems you may have.
And it's also fun not being the one at the very end.
Really?
Well, I'm always the one in the back because you guys ride wild.
Well, no, we only do that because we're in wide open spaces. If we're in a trail ride,
No, that's true. You guys are really, really good like that.
Like we definitely make sure that you're never left behind.
That's true.
And we're always looking back.
That's true. That is true. You guys are really great at that stuff. You're out there just flying.
I was upside down.
Upside down.
I was.
That happens too. No, in a trail ride, I generally it's a lot different situation because there's more things to hit, trees and so forth. And your engine case, there is an O-ring. This is your seal to keep the oil in the motor. It sometimes sticks on there, but yeah, if this isn't on here or in the bike, then I don't care how hard you tighten this, it's going to seep. It's going to have a wet look of oil every time you drive.
Okay.
It's going to try and get out. So make sure that seal is there. So we're just going to check our fluid levels. Okay, now we're getting close. So I'm above the full line. Because we're above the full line, we can start the bike. And the reason we start the bike before we do our final checks is because remember over here in the oil filter we changed earlier, that's still empty. There's no oil in here.
Okay.
So the oil pump's got to fill it up. And once it fills up, then it'll run up and rain oil down on the engine. And once we've had a complete cycle, then we check our oil again. Otherwise, when we first run it, it's going to be low after the first time you run it. And you didn't think to check it because you thought it was already full.
All right.
So, we're over full. We're going to give her a little run. The Kickstarter isn't doing what it should, so we're going to do the old-fashioned move. I don't hear too much engine, like time change noise. Motor sounds good. Seconds to a minute pause. I'm quite sure that's lost. So that being said, because after you run your engine is a rotating thing, your crankshaft. So it throws oil everywhere inside the motor. It throws oil up, down, left, right. So when you check your dipstick, it's going to be wet from end to end with oil. It has no choice, no matter what the level's at. So you got to wipe it from top to bottom to make sure that oil doesn't run down and muck with your reading. Once you got it dry, and you stick it in, thread it all the way down. All the way back out. And we're just to say on the add line, you can see a little bit of oil. You know, try and get your reflection. But yeah, we're low, so we're going to add some more. Usually at about 1.5 to 1 3/4 liters, I check the oil to start. Because some machines, they have some places that the oil doesn't come out. So you're kind of stuck with a little more than the very first time you filled it when it was completely dry. And my little trick, if I'm tired of waiting and I know it's dripping, I'll just stick the funnel in the container and you don't have a mess on the floor. And then recheck it. And if your oils and everything were cold, you want to let it sit longer so that the oil will run back down. Because if it's a thicker oil and it's cold outside, your oil, when you pour it in, is going to be really thick. But when it's warm like this, it's room temperature, your oil is more like water. It's going to fall back down where it should. It won't take long. So, put dipstick in, take it back out. We got a misreading. You see, it makes it to the full line, but there's a couple of dry spots. I don't know if you can see that at all.
Yeah. Yes.
So we'll start over. Play a happy song and so forth. There we go. We're almost at the full line. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
So just a touch more and we're good to go. Just put a slug in. You take your best guess. It wouldn't be much at this point. Perfect. Right on the line. Full line.
Great.
Good to go. Good for 20 catwalks.
I love catwalks. Not that.
Oh, and that, in a nutshell, is an oil change and all the little headaches and hurdles that go along with it.